Welcome to Dynasty Depot. I am your host, Andrew Vogel, alongside with Ryan. Here at Dynasty Depot, defense matters. And we talk about everything fantasy football, from rookies to defense to start sits this week. Big week 14 in the NFL. We're going into week 15. A lot of teams are in the hunt still. A lot of the NFC is kind of set, except for the NFC South and a couple of things here and there, but it looks like the teams are pretty set. The AFC is still all over the place. Very exciting. Very excited to see what players can add value to your fantasy team. And most people are in the fantasy football playoff season now. So if you made it, congratulations. Leave a like down below if you're in the fantasy football playoffs. I know I'm 4 for 4 this year. So that's something to be a little bit happy about. And yeah, let's move right along into our surprises of the week. Ryan, what about your surprise of the week for week 14 last week?
We'll get kicked off right here. I have Jordan Addison as my surprise of the week. I believe that is back-to-back picks for Jordan Addison, um, or in the last 3 weeks. But just a little run over his stats. He had 39.3 points in our league, 8 for 12 receptions, 133 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Just an overall dominant performance. When you put, a couple performances like that in recent memory together, it's kind of hard not to sit him. I unfortunately made the mistake of sitting him this previous week, and it cost me the game. Don't be like me. If you haven't, start him, especially going into round one of the playoffs. Even if he puts up 16, 20 points, he had somewhat close to his production right there. That's going to definitely benefit your team going into hopefully round two.
So you're going to start him this week?
I'm going to start it this week.
There you
Gotta learn,
go.
gotta learn
Before
from
before we started this, he was kind of on the edge about starting him this week or not. So I'm actually happy to hear that.
talk myself into it. Hopefully, I don't lose to Brian Nystrom. Shout
That would
out.
be that'd be rough. I'm playing Timmy this week, so that'd be fun.
There you go.
So my surprise of the week, and I feel like this it is a surprise. I mean, it's the best performance that a QB has had fantasy value wise since the 60s. We weren't even playing fantasy football back then, but if you retrospect everything, this is the last time a quarterback had a performance like that. Was Josh Allen this week with 3 touchdowns on the ground and then 3 passing touchdowns, scoring over 50 points. I think the standard ESPN um, PPR, sorry, is 54 points, and then your league probably all has different stuff. But I think the average was like 54 points that Josh Allen scored at the QB position, which is absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane for anyone to have anything on the stat sheet that says 6 touchdowns in a game, and that was an insane. And somehow they still lost, which might tie into some of my stuff later. But Josh Allen was definitely my surprise of the week. Very fun to watch. Very fun to watch. Character wise, play wise, yeah, great game. Um, I wish they won. My AFC, I think it's Josh Allen's fun to watch, and would like to see them and the Chiefs in the NFC or AFC playoffs at some point. So that is my surprises of the week. And do you have anything to say about Josh Allen?
Um, Not really, man. I didn't get to watch that game. So I was very surprised. For anyone listening, was getting ready for my finals. Just wrapped up my last one an hour ago, from the time of recording. So happy to be finished with this semester. But no, man, good performance by Josh Allen and deserves his flowers, man.
Hell yeah. With that being said, you want to jump right into the rookie segment?
Yeah, man, let's roll. All right.
Hell yeah.
If you listened to last week, just updating anyone listening, um, I switched the rookie segment since we're getting to the end of the season, to cover upcoming rookies for this draft class in 2025. Last week I did linebackers, so it's kind of like a little too early. So I'm just throwing out some names that you should be looking out for, and to see what teams they may land at. And of course, after that, after the draft, I'm gonna go over and cover and give a better analysis based off their teams. But right now, I'm gonna cover running backs this week, and just a star running back, one that you should be very confident in, if you have the chance in the right position to draft him. An impact player, someone that you could look maybe having a taxi squad for years to come, or have on your bench to maybe fill in for bye weeks, whatnot, and then a dice roll. Someone that could hit, someone that could not hit, definitely on the more riskier side of things. With that being said, I'll start off with the star for the running backs for me. Should be no question about this. I'm going with Ashton Genty. Run, Genty, run. Um, One of the best running backs visually I've watched in a while. A little bit smaller of a back, but that's totally fine. He has breakaway speed. He has the power for a running back. He has balance. Um, to go along with this amazing season we're seeing right now in college. Truly, I think we won't see another running back like Genty for the next 10, 15 years. He's truly fun to watch and the way he plays ball.
Is he the Heisman?
For me, he's a Heisman, but unfortunately, it is a political trophy, I think. And I think Travis Hunter is going to get it not because he is the most impactful or the best college football player this season, but because ESPN pushed that narrative really hard. If you notice, I believe it's Fox. They were pushing more for Genty as the season got to a close, and then you had ESPN push for Hunter. I think Hunter's going to win it. Not saying that he's a terrible athlete by any means. I think he's definitely one of the top 10 um, athletes to have on a field. But I think when it comes down to it, I think a Heisman winner has to pass the eye test on the football field. Someone that clearly impacts the game, which Hunter does. But I think another aspect of that goes into stats, and I don't think his stats help back up that case. To say that he's not a top 10 player in
Hmm.
college football right now, completely wrong, like I said. Um, but you have to look at the production that Ashton Genty has put out versus the production that Hunter has put out. I don't think Hunter, when you compare the two, Ashton Genty is a great running back and will go down in history of college football as one of the great running backs the game has ever seen. Travis Hunter, he's going to be recognized, I think, as a top maybe 25 player. Um, in general,
Yeah, I mean that's what
but
I've seen. I just have one question though, and I don't follow
yeah,
college football as closely as I should, especially when I talk about future in the NFL. I really only pay attention to the incoming class or incoming class for the NFL, so your leaving class of the college football. Why have we not heard Ashton Genty's name before this season?
great question. So, where was he at? I don't think I can really go into in depth on that because I don't really have a reason for you. He
Was
kind
he
of
a
just,
transfer into Boise?
I think he was at Boise the year prior.
Okay,
Um, I
maybe
honestly,
buried?
what's up?
Maybe buried?
I honestly don't know what Boise State's running back room was like before. Maybe he played last year. I don't know much about it. But I mean, look at to comment back to Genty. I think the only knock that you would have, or that I have on him personally, is kind of just the competition. He played Oregon, great team, especially considering that they're one of the best defenses in college football right now. But your sample size, maybe aside from last year, isn't that big. He's only a junior right now, so
Hmm.
he still is. If he started as a freshman, played 3 years in total.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think he started as a freshman. I don't think he got much burn. I could be completely
Hmm.
wrong because I don't have anything in front of me to go off that. But I think that's definitely one of the knocks that you could give him is sample size not big enough, and the quality of opponent that he's faced this year hasn't been an SEC or a Big Ten schedule. So
Yeah. No,
yeah,
I think he's going to be great in the NFL too. I've watched some of his film, and
yeah, very.
definitely think he's going to translate pretty well. But I was just curious on your take there, so
Oh,
appreciate that.
yeah, of course. Following that up with someone who I can see being an impact was a stud last year. Kind of had a very disappointing this year. This guy burst out on this scene as a sophomore in Oklahoma State. I'm going with Ollie Gordon the third. Um, I don't think we're seeing the production out of him this year because Oklahoma State is just an absolute dumpster fire. They don't look like a very cohesive, put together college football program. Mike Gundy, I don't know if you're familiar with him. Oklahoma State is offering him an extension, but he has to take a pay cut, and the pay cut he takes is going to get funneled directly into NIL. If he doesn't
Hmm.
agree to that, he's fired, or they're not. I forget what it is, but he won't be coaching for him at the end of at the end of this year, or
Hmm.
after the end of this year, if he doesn't take that extension. It's a weird thing, but there seems to be a lot of issues down in the at that program right now, and I think that is definitely impacting Ollie Gordon. But for people who still remember, he runs like a 4.40. He still has the speed, still has the size. Still a very patient, good running back, but I think we're definitely seeing his production fall off because of where he's at in the program right now. And he's definitely going to lose some draft stock. If the draft happened last year, everyone's picking Ollie Gordon as the number one back, if not top three backs in college football. Now with the emergence of Genty, you have Omarion Hampton in North Carolina, who I like, but I didn't include on this list. Um, there's maybe gonna be some other backs taken in your league before Gordon, so that's definitely a guy I would keep your eye on because he still has the ability to be one of the top backs in college football right now, even though we're not seeing it. He's a guy that you should keep your eye out on. Um, and then to wrap this up on my dice roll, I'm going to include a guy, Jonah Coleman out of Washington. This was a guy who started last year at Arizona. He rushed for 893 yards, I believe. Transferred to Washington because he wanted to follow his head coach, Jed Fish. He got the job at Washington, so Jonah rolled over. Right now he's over 1,000 rushing yards this season. Um, I would say a couple benefits that this guy has is he does have really good hands. Um, in the backfield, he runs a 4.5, so a little bit on the slower end. He's not going to hit any big home run hits, but he has really good burst when he finds a hole, so that's something to look out for. Um, but I will say in pass pro is definitely a knock when it comes to this guy. Now, how does that impact him getting onto a field? I mean, we'll see. We're looking a little bit under a year away to see how this will impact his future. But definitely a name to keep your eye out on as someone who can be an impact on your team.
Listen, being bad at pass pro isn't necessarily a knock, especially for us fantasy players out there. It's when he's in, he's not going to be pass protecting, so he's going to get the little out route there. He's going to be
Well,
the safety valve.
I think that all like you said at the beginning of the segment, all depends on like where he lands.
No,
Um,
100%.
and
Everyone
then
utilizes.
And after the draft happens, of course, I'm going to do a full recap for running back room, receiver room, whatnot, what I think based off that. I'm sure you'll join in on that as well. But yeah, that's my rookie segment. Next week, I will follow it up with another defensive, and I'll kind of flip flop that as we get closer to the draft. So yeah, man, that is my rookie
Hell
segment.
yeah, that's awesome. Rookie segment done. Start making your draft boards now. We have linebackers up on the board. We have some running backs up on the board. What will our mock draft start looking like? Stay tuned and find out here in the near future. But here for my defensive segment of the week, because here at Dynasty Depot, defense matters. Is I want to talk about some strategies now that we're in the playoff. We're in playoff mode right now in fantasy football. So I want to look at strategies to how to utilize the IDP spaces. So this is flex spaces for people who don't play defensive fantasy football. This is essentially just a flex that you have on offense. And how to utilize this. I know in my league we do two defensive linemen, two defensive backs, and two linebackers. And then we have three IDP players. So we field nine defensive players a week. And how I use my IDP spaces is very strategic on if I'm looking for a big boom, if I know that my team's going to have a little bit of an off week, I'm going to put some players in there that I think can have the potential to have a higher ceiling for that week, rather than if I know I'm going to have a good week, I just need to add those points to my IDP spaces. That's what I'm going to be doing. So, like this week, I know that it's going to be a little bit of a short week for me. You have a lot of weather in multiple games. I mean, right now we're seeing a rain game in in California right now. It's starting to get cold. Running backs are starting to go up. My running back room is injured. So I'm going to go with a little bit more of a boom for that just to give me the little edge in my give me a little bit of edge on my defensive side of the ball. So like I'm going with something like LVN, which is a sack or nothing. He's either going to get a sack and give me good points, or he's not going to get anything and he's not going to do that. But I'm going to go with a like someone that I'm holding on my bench to get me points, and hopefully he's progressing this week late into the season. Or if I was in a gooder or better spot, I would be going with someone like a DB where I could actually just get a few points here and there and not have the chance of laying a goose egg, especially for my playoffs. So I think the way that we utilize IDP is definitely a very important thing in how we set our lineups, and we all know this. When you sit there and you set up your lineups every week, it's very important to utilize the ins and pros and cons, the ceilings, the floors. Um, but yeah, no, that's just how I utilize the IDPs, and I think it's very important for us all to really think about that and not just put in our best player rather than trying to use those spaces or that space to kind of pad your team however you're setting it up that week. So. I don't know if Ryan has anything to say about how to utilize his IDP spaces, but
No, I do not. I do not.
awesome. So I think with that, we're gonna go into our segment of start versus sit. This is usually trade. We like keep trade fleece is one of our segments. Keep trade cut is a play on that. Trade targets, trade away. But we usually are right now we're doing start sit since it's after trade deadline. And I feel like more people have questions about this kind of stuff. So I actually chose three. I tried to choose as identical situations as possible to really talk about the pros and cons about all of these. I know Ryan's been able to see them for a little bit, but we have wide receivers, we have running backs, and we have D line. And I want to start with the wide receivers. So the wide receivers is Drake London. They're playing at Las Vegas. Drake London's still a top 10 in fantasy this year for wide receivers. Garrett Wilson also barely cracks the top 10, and they're playing at Jacksonville. And Cortland Sutton against Indy in Denver, also a top 10 wide receiver this year. If you had to choose which ones are you starting, which ones are you sitting, I know it's usually two, but for all of these, I chose three just to make it a little bit interesting.
No, you're good. How many sits do I have? Do you want me to do
Let's
one,
do
two, or
let's
three?
do start, sit, and toss up.
Okay.
You have the middle ground. You have a middle ground.
I'm starting Cortland Sutton, 100%. I think this goes back to I think everyone just likes to see where Bo Nix is rolling right now. And just to see his development as a quarterback, how it helps out that whole receiver room. It's just fun to see. It's fun to watch the Broncos. And I think because of Cortland Sutton, A, being a good receiver to begin with, plus the help of Bo Nix, I think that's going to lead to a good week for him. So I'm starting Cortland Sutton, especially with that Indy secondary. Um, I'm gonna start Drake London too. Um, I know you said start sit toss up, but it's just hard not to. It's against Las Vegas. Um, I don't know. I just like how that offense is looking. Not in terms of winning games. But I like Kirk Cousins. I'm a big fan of Drake London. I think anyone would be hard pressed not to be. It sounds like you're not a big fan of Drake London. Um,
Oh,
you
I
know.
love Drake London.
Okay.
I'll save my piece though.
Okay. Um, and I'll skip my toss. I'll just say Garrett Wilson. I think I'm still burned. Even though yeah, he's a top 10 receiver. It's just I don't know. They play Jacksonville, I believe, and so hopefully that leads to a good week for him. For anyone listening, I am starting him, but that's because I'm very thin right now of options to start. Don't really have a lot of other options. I don't know. I just don't expect him to have a big week. Um, yeah, so those are my takes on that, Andrew.
I'm gonna be very similar. I'm gonna start Cortland Sutton. Very similar to you. I am a Bo lever. and I think Bo Nix is going to go off. Especially against that Indy secondary. I don't trust Indianapolis at all, exception for Anthony Richardson on my fantasy roster. And Cortland Sutton has been going off. He has been proven to show as Bo Nix's number one guy. That offense is looking electric, except when it's not, which they do have games that they're absolutely lay the egg and they don't do anything. But then they also are very electric, and I think that ceiling versus floor is too that ceiling's too high not to start Cortland Sutton. Um, Drake London, we are no longer in Kirktober. We are in December. And Kirk Cousins has been playing like absolute dog.
But
You know the other word. But Drake London has been getting the receptions. Ray McLeod has been getting the receptions, which fun fact, I have both of them in one league and I am starting both of them in each league. It's a 20-man league, so it's thin, but I have options, and I'm actually starting Ray McLeod over Roma Doomsday this week. That's something that I had to really think about. But Ray McLeod is their gadget guy, and at the end of the day, I do not trust Kirk Cousins to win games, which means they will be throwing the ball until that clock hits 0-0-0. So Drake London is definitely a great start. For the integrity of this game, I'm going to put him at the middle ground there just because I don't trust Kirk Cousins like I trust Bo Nix as me being a believer.
that's a fair
Garrett
take.
Wilson,
That
Garrett Wilson playing in Jacksonville. I have one thing to say as a very longtime Packer fan, grow up a Packer fan. Rodgers never plays well in Florida. He's going to Jacksonville. Like, he's not going to be playing well. He hasn't been playing well all season. He hasn't played well in a while, except for when Matt LaFleur makes him look good. That's crazy to think about. And yeah, Garrett Wilson, yeah, being a top 10 receiver, all that, or whatever. I don't trust him in this Jacksonville game. It's everywhere it's so cold. They have these drones flying over New Jersey right now. No one knows about it. You know Rogers is up all night on Twitter trying to figure out what these are, going through conspiracy theories. Flying to Jacksonville where it's going to be 80 degrees. Yeah, Rogers isn't going to have a good game. I'm sitting Garrett Wilson in this.
strong ending. I love that. That fired me up.
So that's our start sits for wide receivers. So running backs, I chose this as young speedsters is the theme for my running backs. So I have Achan, which will be going to Texas in a dome. Gibbs is playing in Detroit against Buffalo. Chase Brown is at Tennessee.
I guess I'll start in order like I did last time. I am starting Chase Brown. This is another guy I have on my team, and I just love the way the guy's playing right now. He puts up points after points after points, week after week. Like, he is consistent. And that's what you love to see. That's something that you want to see definitely in a playoff run. Someone who's going to get you points. Going up against Tennessee, I think they're going to have a big problem defending the Bengals offense. They can get the ball around vertically. They can run the ball on you. They can get the ball in Chase Brown's hands. And that definitely stretches out that Tennessee defense. And that means I like Chase Brown to start. Sitting. A-Chain. I don't trust the Dolphins offense completely. Tua is back. And they are playing better. I just, we're at a point in the season that when you watch the Dolphins, I feel like they don't have the same um get up like week one, week two before Tua gets hurt. That offensive room looked totally different than what it does now. It's a course of a season; it's going to look that way, but I don't think it has the same spark that we saw in August or September. So I'm going to sit A-Chain, especially going up against the Texans. And I'm going to toss up Gibbs. I feel like the deal with Gibbs, and it's been like that since he's been drafted. And when he got drafted, David Montgomery was already there, right? Yeah. So it's always been kind of the week like who's going to pop off. Um, the the backs are going to get touches in the offense and Dan Campbell's offense. They're going to get utilized. Sometimes it's a mix of both. although I don't think that that is as frequent as either one of them is going to have a great week. Um, and I think because of that, that's why Gibbs is a toss up for me. He can put up a great week, or Montgomery could be the guy. And it's because of that uncertainty that I would put Gibbs as my toss up.
This
I
one's
see
hard for
smoke
me.
coming out of your ears.
Huh?
I see smoke coming out of your ears, and I hear gears turning. What's up?
I don't fully disagree with you. I think my start sit is very similar. Chase Brown against Tennessee against a high-powered Bengals offense. This Bengals offense, the Bengals are not going to be making the playoffs. I don't think they're in the playoff hunt. Whatever you hear people talk about, they're not in the playoff hunt. However, this offense, I feel like, is wanting to play. I don't think this is a offense that's discouraged. This is an offense that's literally been partying at practices and then throwing up 30, 40 points at games. This is an offense that didn't lose in the season, and they're going to keep playing the way that they are until the last day. I don't think they're playing for a draft pick. They're not. They need changes on defense, but they're two or three changes away of being very competitive, and they know that. So they're just kind of having fun this season. So I think Chase Brown as a start is good. Um, I think the game of the week has the potential to be Dolphins versus Texans, two teams in the AFC that are on the fringe. Both of them are seemingly mid-tier in the AFC. And I think this is going to be a good game that I think that running backs can play a large role of Achane being the safety valve for Tua. So for that, I'm going to put as a toss up, and these three are hard, but I'm going to sit Gibbs um for stuff I'm not going to talk too much about right now. But I do not think that Gibbs is going to put up the same production as Achane and Chase Brown will this week. I'm not saying that Gibbs is a dud. I'm not saying sit Gibbs for some random running back like the one that just got named as starter in Las Vegas because you're excited to see how he plays. And it's like, dude, I didn't know this dude's name until 3 weeks ago. No, I'm starting Gibbs if I have him in my league. One of my leagues, I have Gibbs and Monty. I actually disagree with you that I feel like they both pop off at an above average pace, and one of them will pop off as the superstar of the week. I think that both are viable starts in and out of your week, depending on the depth of your league. And if you have both like I do, I'm sure you know how much fun it is just to start both of them and they just run all over your opponent. So, um, but that being said, yeah, that's how I'm going to do. I'm going to start Chase Brown. I'm going to, in the middle, Achan and Gibbs, I would be sitting in this situation. I don't know if you have
There
any
you go.
rebuttals to that one.
No, I think overall it's a solid take. Um, Game of the week, I might have to start CJ Stroud.
I do think that the Dolphins and Texans have the potential to be game of the week there. So
Do
I
you,
think that there's going to
you
be some fantasy points.
is it number seven's week though?
I will never be an advocate for CJ
Gosh
Stroud.
darn it, man. Gosh darn it.
So we're going to switch over to the D line. So this here, when it comes to fantasy production, are three big name players that have not been producing the fantasy value. They've been having their weeks where they get a sack or two like that, but they haven't been producing. They've been disappointing to say the least. And it's going to be Micah Parsons, and you're playing at Carolina, Vita Vea at the Chargers, and DeForest Buckner at Denver. This one's tough for me. Do you want to start, or you want me to start on this one?
Um, Whatever you want to do. How about you start it off, and then I can wrap this one up.
So I think I'm taking Parsons. It's hard not to take Parsons. Parsons is the young one of these three. I'm going to start Parsons mainly because maybe he's like my problem child that I just love. And I really like need Parsons to like get a sack to like contribute to my fantasy team week in and week out. And he just hasn't been doing it this year. And I thought he was coming off after the campaign he put together last season. I had high expectations for this season that have not come true. It's probably because this whole team is dumpster fire under Mike McCarthy, which sounds like they're going to keep Mike McCarthy, which is wild to me. But I think Parsons is the only one that you have to guard on this defense to be successful against this defense. But I don't think that Carolina has the ability to do that. They have been playing good football lately, but I don't think they're playing good enough football to deal with a superstar rusher like Micah Parsons. That being said, I'm going to say Vita Vea. The Chargers are just looking way too good. The offensive line is for the Chargers under a Harbaugh offense is scary, and I do not expect anything that happened in that backfield. Everything is going to be happening in that secondary, but Josh or Herbert has been playing lights out lately. So I'm going to have to sit Vita Vea. And DeForest Buckner is definitely one of those ones that's playing against a young quarterback with Bo Nix. But like I said earlier, I am a Bo lever. And I like Bo, and that's why I'm going to put him in the middle ground because DeForest Buckner is a veteran playing against a rookie, and that usually plays out in the veteran's favor, but we will have to see what happens. I don't necessarily trust that all the way.
I like all your takes. Don't get me wrong, and I do believe wholeheartedly that if this was an odd sheet, you're in the minus and I'm in the plus with my take. Hear me out on this, but I'm going strictly on vibes on this one. With that being said, I am sitting Micah Parsons, and here's why. Carolina is playing inspired football. They're playing an elevated brand than they have been for the majority of the year, and you can see that in the way they play. There's a certain energy about that Panthers team in the building and when they step on the field. For that reason, I think that they're not going to shut down Micah Parsons, but they're going to limit him as a defender. That's why I'm going to sit him. Now, we look at Vita Vea and DeForest Buckner. I'm a Buccaneers fan. I'll be a Buccaneers fan until the day I die, unfortunately. Big fan of Vita Vea. Always have been. Toss up. And the reason for that is I like Andrew's logic and I subscribe to the idea of what he was saying about DeForest Buckner. Of he's a veteran guy, an older guy going against a younger quarterback. I do think that spells problems for Bo Nix. And I think DeForest Buckner will definitely find himself in a good position this week against that Denver offense. Not to say that Bo Nix also will not have himself a week. I hope so. Need to get around two, and he's going to be my leader. But I think DeForest Buckner is going to have a good week. From that, I think Vita Vea is my toss-up because he's a guy. But I think Andrew's correct, and I think all the action will be in the secondary for Tampa. Hopefully we pull it out this week, but I don't think Vita Vea will be a big impact, but it has potential to be. So Vita Vea is my toss-up. I am starting Forrest Buckner, on Vita Vea, and I'm sitting Micah Parsons.
That made me sad, man. Sitting Micah Parsons.
Sitting Micah Parsons. There's a lot of energy in Dallas. The, to on the other side of the coin, you're looking at a Dallas team that's deflated. You can see that they're upset with the way the
All
season's.
right, I change it. This is my game of the week. Carolina, Dallas.
Let's go, baby. Look, I just feel like
New game of the week.
you're looking at two teams that have had very different responses to a subpar season, where Carolina's rallied and Dallas is not. And I think just the energy in that Dallas locker room is going to not only affect Micah emotionally, but it's going to affect everyone emotionally. It's going to affect the way that they play, the way they look. And I think that's going to be a detriment to him playing this week.
Yeah. I would like to point out before I get to my oh so serious is we touch both of their names in this podcast is Micah Parsons and CJ Stroud made it a point in this offseason to talk about how much better they are than everyone else in the league on numerous podcasts, and both have had muted seasons. I'm not saying that they've still played at a high level. I'm not going to deny that. But when it comes to being a contributing on their team, it's just not there. And I find that very funny that both of them were very loud, and that's what happened. So
Hey, quick update. Um, the score is currently 3-3 with 10 minutes left in the third quarter.
it's a rain game, isn't it? Is it still a
Um,
rain game?
it doesn't look like it's raining.
Oh,
I
it was
mean, the
raining earlier.
helmets have a little bit of droplets, but it's Brock Purdy's helmet, so he shouldn't be getting touched. Everyone else kind of has dry helmets, what it looks like.
Nice. So I think
Second,
with that,
you're
we
good.
should jump into our oh so serious of the week. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go
I'll let it
first?
rip, baby. I'll let it rip. Um,
Yeah, let her rip, man.
you know, I started listening to NBA YoungBoy in high school. Um, and it was something it was something I found that elevated me before I played football games. It had the energy rolling, and I found that when players play with a presence of NBA YoungBoy, it's fun to watch. It's the Black Air Forces of music, and truly great to see. When because of that, there's just something tingling inside me that says the Steelers are going to go to the AFC Championship. I don't think they're going to win, but there's just something about Mr. Unlimited, an NFL young boy, George Pickens. I like that guy, man. I'm huge on George Pickens. I love to see him play. Even when he's not even in the play, he's tackling a ref. He's throwing fingers up to a mom and her three children. He's just fun to watch. And I just really right now, I like the Steelers. I think they're going to the AFC Championship. I don't think they're going to win it. Who are they going to play? Couldn't tell you. But I do like them to go to the AFC Championship and make a decent playoff run, building into Mike Tomlin going in for next season. I don't know where his
You know,
contract is. I'm just strictly vibes. I'm loving it.
you know what's funny about your take is 14 years ago, the Super Bowl. Actually, you know what? No, 14 years before that. So we're talking 28 years ago. My Packers made the Super Bowl and we won it. 14 years later, my Packers made the Super Bowl and won it. You know who we won it against?
The Steelers.
The Steelers.
I remember that game.
14 years later. Yeah, best halftime performance of all time, Black Eyed Peas. 14 years later,
Big furry guy.
Big Fergie guy. 14 years later, we're here. Packers are going to sneak into the playoffs in a loaded conference. Going to be playing the wild card spot. Looks like there's a strong Steelers team over there with an overrated number one seed in the AFC. You know, history does repeat itself. And I don't hate your take because they just find the magic ways to win this game. And the Steelers could definitely make a run in the playoffs.
There's something about 14 when it makes an appearance on the field and in history. You got some magic going on there. I like it.
I'm just saying. But I mean, hey, if history repeats itself, this is going to be Jordan Love's only Super Bowl, and then we're going to go back to crying over NFC Championship losses. So we'll see what
I'm not
happens. So,
I'm not gonna lie, when you're hitting me with those 14-14 references, I was like, dog, this is about to be the craziest Oso series I've ever heard in my life.
that's not even my oh so serious. I'm just like, I love the Steelers take, so I just had to
You
put
were
in some
leading
ball
into that.
knowledge
I
there.
was like, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Hit me with
My oh so serious take of the week is that the Bills Mafia is going to absolutely break Detroit this week. I think that the Bills are coming in with moxie that the Lions are not ready to play against. You're talking about a dome football team in Detroit playing against someone that had played 6 touchdowns in freezing cold weather last week. I don't think they're ready for the kind of physicality that they're about to see on Sunday, and that is going to be the game of the week. Is going to be the Bills versus Lions at 4:05 Eastern Time, and watching the Bills and Josh Allen absolutely break Detroit, and they will never be the same again. That is my oh so serious take of the week.
Where's your integrity? That's your third game of the week.
I'll make it the fourth. I don't know.
Oh man,
But
it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be a good game to watch. Definitely two really good teams. Um, I agree with you. I agree with you. I don't. I think a dome team going into Buffalo plays a huge factor.
they're playing in Detroit. It'll be in
Oh,
Dome.
dude, they're playing in Detroit.
Yeah.
Oh, let's go Lions. Yeah, shitty take. Shitty take. Lions.
No, I think the Bills are gonna come over there and bulldoze them. So
Keep an eye
that's
out
just my
for it.
take. The Lions defense has started to become exposed the last couple of weeks. They've been giving up
They're
points they
hurt.
shouldn't have been given. Huh?
They're hurt.
Even before they were hurt. I mean, schematically wise, like they let the Bears almost win the game on them.
And they let my Buccaneers win the game on them.
Yeah, that was week two. No one cares about that.
Some
That's
of the
that's like
Packers.
talking about last season, all right?
Yes, but it's not because it's week two. It's something the Packers couldn't do.
That's fair. At least we know we're gonna make the playoffs, so.
And we're in the hunt.
That being said, guys, thank you guys for watching Dynasty Depot. Follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Dynasty Depot. And thank you guys for having us be part of your day. And we will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.